You know, sometimes life just hands you a Monday, even if it's a Thursday afternoon. I'm Officer Ben Carter, and my partner is a 7-year-old Belgian Malinois named Zeus. Not a German Shepherd, a Malinois, all muscle, zero patience for nonsense, and eyes like liquid gold. We were doing a routine walkthrough at the Harvest Basket supermarket, just a typical community patrol. You nod to the regulars, the kids wave, Zeus gets a head scratch, the usual suburban peace treaty. I remember thinking, easy shift, Ben. Don't even need a coffee. The fluorescent lights were humming, the floors were spotless, the carts were clicking, and the air smelled like a mix of industrial cleaner and freshly baked sourdough, a weirdly comforting scent, honestly. I was joking with Mrs. Albright about the price of organic kale when I felt the change. It wasn't loud, it wasn't a growl, it was just tension on the leash. Zeus had gone from a casual trot to a hunting stride. His tail stopped its lazy sway, his ears rotated forward like satellite dishes, and his entire body language shifted from friendly community dog to laser-focused predator. Subtle, you know. So subtle anyone else would miss it, but after 5 years with this dog, I can read his posture like a newspaper headline. What is it, buddy? I murmured, tightening my grip just a hair. He wasn't looking at the deli counter or the chip aisle. His gaze was locked down the cereal aisle, that long stretch with all the sugary, colorful boxes. And honestly, I saw nothing. Just a young couple, an elderly man debating fiber content, and a little girl in a vivid turquoise jacket holding hands with a guy. This guy, let's call him Mitch, he was maybe mid-40s, heavy-set, wearing a beat-up baseball cap pulled low, and he had these distinct, dark tattoos crawling up his forearms. Nothing wrong with tattoos, but something about the way he held the girl's hand was just too firm, too possessive. And the girl, she was maybe 8, petite, with bright red hair. But she wasn't acting like a kid in a cereal aisle. No bouncing, no begging for sugar bombs, no pulling on his sleeve. She walked with this weird, tight stiffness, like every muscle was frozen except her eyes. Her eyes were searching. Not wandering with curiosity, but searching with a frantic, silent desperation. They flicked over the shoppers, past the teenagers, past the busy parents, and then, they landed on Zeus and me. It was only a split second, but her face, it was a pure, unfiltered flash of terror mixed with hope. Then she looked away, fast, pulling her small hand back slightly, but Mitch's grip just clamped down. Zeus let out this sound. It wasn't a bark or a growl, it was a single, low, resonating huff, the sound he makes when he's smelled something deeply wrong. It's a primal confirmation. He wasn't smelling drugs or explosives today, though. He was smelling fear. Pure, sharp, metallic fear, the kind that permeates the air when a child knows they're in danger. That's a scent no training program can teach, only experience in the field can confirm. I started to move slowly towards them, trying to look casual, like I was just checking expiration dates. Mitch was pretending to read a granola bar label, trying to project this image of normal dad shopping, but he was failing miserably. His shoulders were too high, his breathing was too shallow, and his eyes kept darting around the store like he was timing an escape. And then, it happened. The moment that changed everything. The little girl, without moving her head, without making a sound, just slowly, deliberately, lifted her free hand. She didn't wave. She didn't stretch. She just lifted it, palm open, and then, she folded her thumb into her palm and covered it with her 4 fingers. I blinked. My brain was still trying to process it, is she asking for a box on the top shelf, but Zeus's reaction was instantaneous and explosive. The dog knew. He recognized the stiff, unnatural movement, the desperation in her eyes that never left us. He let out a piercing, urgent, demanding bark, not aggressive toward the man, but a sharp alarm directed right at the core of the situation. It was the sound of a silent plea being answered. The whole aisle froze. Carts screeched. People gasped. Rex. Easy, boy. I shouted, instinctively, but I knew easy wasn't an option anymore. The man, Mitch, finally turned. He had this tight, fake smile plastered on, but his eyes were pure panic. "Whoa, officer," he said, voice a little too loud, a little too shaky. "What's with the crazy dog? He's scaring my daughter." Zeus, ignoring the man completely, planted himself, his body rigid, blocking the path. He let out a low, guttural growl that didn't need translation, "You are not going anywhere." That's when the truth hit me, all at once, with the force of a punch. That wasn't a casual hand movement. That was the signal for help. The one the national safety campaigns teach kids for domestic abuse or abduction. A silent scream. I took a step forward, my hand resting on my holster. "Sir," I said, keeping my voice low and steady, but letting the steel show through. "My partner doesn't bark for no reason. She just gave us a distress signal. Are you two okay?" Mitch scoffed, his neck turning red. "A signal? She's being dramatic. Kids do weird stuff, right? We're just trying to get some damn cereal." He yanked her hand slightly, pulling it down, forcing her to lower the silent plea. I watched the fear flood her eyes again, that small, desperate look of "don't believe him." "Please. I need you to step back from the girl, right now," I commanded. "You serious? This is my..." Bam! Zeus cut him off with a bark so powerful, so immediate, it rattled the cereal boxes. It was the sound of a line being drawn in the sand, and Mitch had just crossed it. I saw the sweat form on Mitch's hairline, the way his fingers were digging into the girl's small wrist. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. This was confirmation. Zeus knew the truth before any adult in that store did. The storm was here, and it was about to break. Mitch's forced friendly facade just shattered. It dissolved into pure, ugly aggression. "Get that damn dog away from me," he hissed, his jaw clenched so hard I thought I heard his teeth grind. He spun, trying to tug the girl toward the nearest fire exit. "Don't move!" I yelled. "Let go of the child." But he bolted. He wasn't running casually, he was dragging her, knocking a shopping cart sideways, sending apples rolling everywhere. Shoppers screamed, ducked behind aisles, and the quiet supermarket turned into a desperate echo chamber. Zeus didn't wait for a command. He launched. The leash slipped from my hand, and in that instant, I had total faith. He was a streak of muscle and focus, maneuvering through the chaos faster than any human. He wasn't chasing to tackle, he was running to intercept. He closed the distance in 2 heartbeats, and just as Mitch reached the corner near the dairy aisle, Zeus executed this incredible, fluid, sideway cut. He didn't bite, he didn't attack. He just placed his entire body, all 70 pounds of taut, protective fury, directly in Mitch's path, forcing him to skid to a stop, his feet sliding on the polished floor. Mitch screamed, not in pain, but in sheer terror. He stumbled backward, lost his footing, and in that instant of imbalance, the little girl, Eliza, I would learn her name was, slipped free from his grasp. She didn't even hesitate. She stumbled, fell right into the shelter of my arms, and clung to me, trembling violently. Mitch crashed onto the floor, his momentum gone, his pathetic attempt at escape completely foiled by a dog's perfect strategic move. Zeus instantly positioned himself over the man, a deep, earth-shaking growl rumbling in his chest, a sound that warned, the game is over. The silence that followed was deafening, the kind of silence that replaces chaos, heavy with shock and relief. I crouched down immediately, holding Eliza tight against my vest. Hey, you're safe now," I whispered, my own voice shaking a little. "He can't touch you. You're so brave." She didn't answer right away. She just wrapped her arms around Zeus's neck, who stood perfectly still, letting her bury her face in his fur. No growling, no tension, just absolute stillness. Finally, she choked out a sob. I I didn't think anyone would see. He said he would hurt me if I screamed. I saw the dog, and I remembered the signal they taught us. My heart just broke. This little kid, relying on a four-step hand gesture and a police dog's instinct to save her life. Just then, Officer Diaz and Officer Chen burst through the doors, my backup. They saw the scene, the defeated man on the floor, the little girl clinging to the K9, and me, holding her close. Within seconds, Mitch was cuffed. As they lifted him, one of the shoppers, holding his phone, stepped forward. "Officer," he said, trembling slightly. I pulled up the Amber Alert. "The missing child from Northwood Library this morning, it's her. It's Eliza." Mitch's face, already white with defeat, turned to ash. He was caught. Not by my tactics, not by the store security, but by a 9-year-old's bravery and a dog's intuition. A few minutes later, as Mitch was being escorted out, I heard the cry that made every police officer in the aisle look away, a mix of primal terror and overwhelming relief. "Eliza. Mommy." A woman, Eliza's mother, Mrs. Jennings, sprinted down the aisle and collapsed onto her knees, pulling Eliza into a ferocious, tearful embrace. "I thought I lost you," she sobbed into her daughter's turquoise jacket. "I thought I'd never see you again." Eliza clung to her mother, but after a moment, she pulled back and looked at Zeus. She didn't say a word, she didn't need to. The awe, the love, the unbreakable trust in her eyes said it all. She slowly reached out, her little hand, the same hand that gave the signal, and stroked Zeus's cheek. "You came for me," she whispered, her voice barely a breath. "You're my hero." Zeus's tail thumped once against the floor, a soft, final acknowledgement. He leaned his great, heavy head into her shoulder, a quiet comfort for a traumatized soul. The grocery store didn't applaud. It just stood in silent, collective awe at the small miracle that had unfolded on aisle 5. We found out later that Mitch wasn't just some random creep, he was a disgraced former school janitor who knew the routines around the library drop-off. He was targeting vulnerable kids, and today, he underestimated the power of a tiny hand and a well-trained dog. He never stood a chance against an instinct driven by a silent plea. I'm still stunned by the whole thing. It was a reminder that the loudest scream isn't always heard, and sometimes, the best partnerships are the ones where you learn to listen to the silence.